What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I wanted to share my thoughts with you guys about OTF knives or out the front automatic knives in general. I realized that I currently had in my possession five very popular models of OTFs, and I thought, hey, this might be a good opportunity to talk about these. One, because, OTF knives are interesting. They're interesting because they are illegal in a lot of places, and in my opinion, shouldn't be. But that's a different topic. And there's a draw to them, right? The movies made these things kind of popular because they're scary and they're interesting and they shoot out the front, right? Now I'm going to be talking about OTF knives in the sense of a utility cutting tool. And I'm also going to talk about how my opinions changed over time. If you've been watching my channel for a long time, you'll know that my first video on the Lightning OTF, I waved OTFs off as more so novelty toys that gave people the wrong impression about cutlery in general. And then I actually changed my thoughts on that and re-reviewed the Lightning OTF and now have really come around to them, especially with the acquisition of this guy right here. That's the Guardian Tactical Recon 35. And I just have a lot to say. If you are new to my channel, I like to do knife reviews, knife overviews, unboxings, discussion topics like the ones you're seeing here. I upload content every single day, so if you like knife-related content, please subscribe and make sure your notifications are set to all because there's a lot of content coming. I also have Patreon, so if you'd like to support this channel and at the same time get yourself one of these cool stickers, you can join one of the lower tiers, and those are available to you, as well as once a week Patreon exclusive content available to all tiers, even the $1 tier. And then also, if you'd like me to shout out your YouTube channel or your Instagram, or you just want me to say something funny or ridiculous, that's totally fine too. So link in the description if you want to check out my Patreon. The support would absolutely mean the world to me. Anyways, what do we have here? We have the Microtech UTX 85, a knife that I have. By the way, some of these have reviews on my channel currently, and some of them don't. Any that don't will have reviews coming up. The UTX 85 is a Microtech knife. It is made in the United States. The 85 represents, I believe, 85% of what I consider to be their flagship model, the Microtech Ultratech, which is, I know, shameful that I don't have one out here, but this is how it ended up. And then I have the Guardian Tactical Recon 35, a very recent acquisition, a knife that I very much like. A little bit larger. In my opinion, this is right around the size that a lot of people prefer. For reference points, it's very, very close to the size of the Lightning OTF. This is probably the most famous budget OTF in existence. So smaller than the Microtech Scarab. People are wondering, those of you who own a Scarab, it's a little bit smaller than that. It's right around the same size as this. The Benchmade Infidel. This is the large Infidel. This model has been very popular for a very long time. And then I have a Microtech Combat Troodon, which is, I think, I could be wrong. I think this is the largest double action OTF in existence, but I could be wrong. So these are all very popular models. And, one of the things that I want to talk about, or that I will at some point talk about, is, there's nothing wrong with budget OTF. By the way, what we're looking at here, this is American-made, Chinese-made, American-made, American-made. You're looking at 270-ish between these two. You're looking at 400, 425-ish for this guy. And for the Combat Troodon in its base form, you're looking at 465. If you want this Hellhound blade, it's going to cost you $650 to $700. That's another thing. But this Lightning here is $40. There's nothing wrong with the Lightning OTF. It does not have anywhere near the same quality of materials as these other American-made OTFs. But this is my brother's Lightning OTF. And I asked him today, I said, because I've resharpened this at least once on the channel. And I said, has this thing ever failed? And he said, no, actually, it has never failed. And he uses it often. In fact, the edge that I put on it is already beaten up. But this is regular old, it's 440C and some sort of cast aluminum. I don't know. He said it's never failed, but once somebody asked to see it, one of his coworkers, and they clicked it out and they didn't know how to put it back in. So they started jamming the tip of the blade into a table to get it put away. And it derailed and failed in a way that he had to actually take it apart and put it back together, but it still works. And he has had this thing for, I want to say at least a year and a half, maybe 2 years, and he carries it with him every single day. So knives like this are plenty durable. They just don't have the high quality steel. They don't have the high quality, handle material. Fit and finish is very subpar compared to these guys. You're gonna have a little bit more rattle. Everything's just kind of put together in a more clunky way. So just as the case with anything. Oh, and sometimes you'll also get this. Can you hear that? I can feel it reverberating. You get a little clang in there. So just as the case with anything, you are definitely going to get what you pay for when it comes down to it. There are companies right now, I want to take this opportunity early on in the video. There are companies out there, not ones that I'm not going to name, who are taking advantage of the cool factor in OTF knives. It is not the Lightning. You'll pay about $40 for this, and that's a darn good price. You can get those at Grindworks or lightningotf.com. Then there are companies using the exact same materials, the subpar aluminum, or sometimes it's listed as zinc alloy, and then 440C, and charging as much as $300. No, that's not okay. That's a scam. They bolster, the false and the confidence they're trying to create and saying like, oh, we've got like this lifetime warranty and our knives are so durable. Listen, so is the Lightning, but it's $40 and it's using the same material. So make sure if you are somebody who's new to the knife world, right, and you don't know anything about the handle materials or the blade materials, that's okay. But let me help everybody out here. Read what it's made out of. If it says 440C for the blade steel and it doesn't list where it's manufactured, hint, it's China. And the handle material says, they kind of dance around exactly what it is. That's not a $300 OTF. It's not a $200 OTF. It's not a $100 OTF. You're going to end up paying between $200 and $350 for a $40 knife. One that is designed basically in the shadow of the real ones. The Microtechs, the Guardian Tacticals, the Benchmades, there's some other brands out there. Those are the US made ones. So this is my warning to everybody. Be careful who you are giving your money to. They're getting very crafty with this. They're not technically clones, but they're not $300 knives. So anyways, okay, I've done enough preaching. What's the advantage of an OTF? So an OTF, I've stated many times, the advantage is that the knife deploys automatically and retracts automatically with one hand. On a knife that, is manual, there's nothing wrong with that, but there are extra movements involved. And, in my original video of the Lightning, I was like, well, people kind of have this sort of mall ninja attitude towards them where they think that the speed in which the knife deploys is giving them some sort of tactical advantage. And people still argue with me about that. Listen, the speed in which an OTF deploys versus the speed at which a manual fully knife deploys it's the same. I don't care what anybody says, it's the same. It's the convenience out of your pocket to make sure, or it's not definite, but it's very likely because of how these are put together that when you deploy them, it will deploy. And then when you are done, without having to reposition your hands or use two hands, as is the case with a slip joint, you can simply pull back and retract it. Now, obviously, you guys have probably figured out today we're just talking about double action OTFs. Maybe at some point in the future I can talk about single action OTFs. Those are automatic knives where they are primed and then you push a button and it releases the blade and you have to manually cock or reload the knife to retract it and respring it. So this is a convenience thing, right? A lot of people are, driven to buy things like these because they're very weapony and cool, and people think that you can take them and you can hold them up to an object and deploy it, and that the blade will go right through it. That's not the case with the Lightning. It's not the case with the Benchmade. It's not the case with the Guardian Tactical. And it's not the case with a $700, though that one did fire pretty hard. It's not the case with a $700 Microtech Combat Trudon. I couldn't imagine there are still people out there who think that, and it's also not the case with the UTX 85. I could imagine that there are still people out there, poor CRKT box, who think that that is the case. But just in case that there are people out there who think that that is the case, it's not. They derail, and then you pull them here, click it out, and you are good to go once again. that's a safety feature. These are not designed as stealth ninja tools where you can go up to a surface, organic or inorganic, and push the button and it goes through. That's saved for movies, video games, comic books. That's not real life. These are designed as tools. They do give the appearance of something that's very weapony and aggressive, and that's the draw to them. But initially I was under the impression, after becoming a knife snob, for a little bit I was like, well, I don't like OTFs because of the crowd, the types of people that they attract to the upper tiers of the knife world. And then I was like, you're kind of being a gigantic snob. There are a lot of people who carry OTFs as convenient tools, and I've realized that that's absolutely the case. And I realized that after, I thought, oh, Lightning OTFs are very inexpensive. They make great gifts, so we can carry them here in Kansas. So I bought my brother, sister, and dad one. And after 2 years of all of them using them, my sister doesn't use hers as much, but my dad and brother using theirs all the time, I was like, man, that's cool. Maybe there's something a little more to them. And I learned this a long time ago. And so for a while now, I'd been kind of on a quest to get myself an OTF, and I found it's here recently in the Combat Troodon, except that thing is gigantic. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll get one that's a little bit smaller and more my size, or more reasonable size for everyday carry, but that's still made out of premium materials, and then I'll carry it. And I've found very much here just in the last few days how much I love just having a lightweight, convenient automatic knife, right? Yes, the blade is aggressive looking, right? The Dagger style blade, which is a blade style in and of itself that is illegal in a lot of areas. But having two completely different edges is great because once it's deployed, it doesn't matter which side I'm cutting, how I'm approaching the thing that I'm about to cut. Both sides are sharp, right? It's not the most ideal blade shape or grind for shaving an apple or a grape or toilet paper or whatever. But is it going to cut? Yeah. And is it going to do it conveniently and quickly to where I can deploy it, cut, put it back in my pocket, perhaps faster and in a more convenient fashion than any other type of folding knife on the planet? Now, is that type of convenience always necessary? No, I wouldn't say that it's always necessary, but man, it makes some things a lot easier. This sounds stupid, but there have been times where I've gone to pull a knife out of my pocket and I deploy it and I make a cut, and then for whatever reason, the message that my brain is trying to send to my limbs, despite having handled hundreds, if not over 1,000 knives, I just missed the lock bar and I almost go to drop it, and then the blade comes down on my hand, and then I literally have a fresh cut up here somewhere on my thumb from doing something like that here recently. And most of the time, yeah, on a knife like this, thumb studs, if it's designed properly, it's very easy to retract and put away, but there are extra movements. So that convenience is something that I very much appreciate. Now, of course, the glaring issue is with legality, right? These are simply not legal in a lot of places. And I'm sure that there's a lot more to it than whether or not politicians actually think that someone is more likely to use this style of knife as a weapon, or be attacked by it or whatever. To me, it kind of seems like a lot of these areas have laws like that in place because it allows them to, it gives law enforcement an opportunity to shake people down. Now, that may or may not be the case. I don't know. This isn't a political channel. I don't care to get into political discussions. Coming from the viewpoint, with my viewpoint, viewing knives as tools, I hear about laws like that and I'm like, that's stupid, right? So like a gigantic folding knife, right, can be legal, something like this, but an automatic knife like this, it's not legal. I mean, this is no more or less dangerous than something like that. So anyways, that's my rant about that. And that's what stinks, is that not everybody can enjoy the convenience of these knives. In some areas, it's not even legal to own them. Oh boy, that's crazy. So I don't know. I don't know what the heck's going on there. Hopefully that loosens up in the future, but I'd say the way that things are going, it's not likely. In fact, it's likely to go backwards, but hopefully that's not the case. So I've got a bunch of different models out here that I think are very good examples of you know, good OTFs. I mean, generally what you're going to see is aluminum, 6061 T6 aluminum, which is going to be these guys right here. This is something else. It's not the same aluminum. And it's also cast. These are, I believe the handles are CNC. They're also precision made. The tolerances are taken into something like this. Part of the reason why it costs so much less money, it's I think people are quick to assume, you know, the Lightning OTF company is just you know, a charitable organization, and they're not interested in corporate greed. So out of the kindness of their hearts, they reduce the price on this to only $40 versus, you know, greedy Microtech's 400 or 600 or Benchmade's. No, that's not the case. These are American knives, and it costs more. Labor and production costs more in the United States. The materials that the knives are made out of, 204P, LMAX, some of the Blade HQ exclusive versions of these are S30V, and I think this is 204P as well. Those are powder metallurgic steels, and all except for LMAX, which I believe is made by Bowler in Sweden, are USA steels. They cost more money to make, they cost more money to grind, and then they have to make sure that all the tolerances meet up. There's a whole bunch of steps that go into making these American OTFs that are not, they're not in the Lightning. And the Lightning's made in China. So there's a million reasons why the Lightning costs less. Now that doesn't make it bad. I mean, like I said, you know, some people don't need all these extra touches. Some people don't need to spend that much money. And I can't really say exactly, you know, where the line is as far as how much people should spend. I don't think anybody needs this. Maybe soldiers, but I could definitely make a case for this area down here. Absolutely, this is about $250 to $285 mark. In my opinion, just in terms of edge retention and overall fitment and quality of the item that I'm carrying, I am more than happy to spend somewhere between $200 and $300 on an item like this, especially one where every last line was taken into consideration, right? Where you put your hands, where your finger rests on the switch, the shape of the switch, the final grind in the blade material, right? The position of the pocket clip, the material of the pocket clip, right? In the case of the Guardian Tactical, which we will eventually talk about in an in-depth review, that's one of the most innovative knives out there, in my opinion. It's just, you know, carrying it, my appreciation for it has gone just way through the roof. The other nice thing about OTFs is they are arguably the only design where it's truly safe to have a dagger style blade. Yes, there are folding knives out there that have dagger style blades with false edges. This is truly sharp on both sides. Why? Because it gets sucked back into the handle. Yes, there are even some custom knives and even some just unsafe, inexpensive knives that are sharpened on both sides. That are folding knives. Those are tricky to get put away without cutting yourself. The Hinderer Maximus dagger is truly sharp on both sides, but he's got it set up to where you can use the flipper tab to actually kick the blade back into place. Still not something that I would consider to be truly safe. An OTF is safe. It goes out and it goes back in, and you can't cut yourself on the blade because it's in the handle, right? So that's nice. I mean, you're truthfully getting two edges. So if you've got premium steel, I mean, it's kind of like having two knives. You know, you could literally just dedicate yourself to using one side of it and save the other side for when one side goes dull. Now, the downside is you cannot put your thumb on the spine of the blade and bear down on it like you could on one of these, the drop point blade or this Tanto here. It just depends on what you want. I think the main point that I want to make here is I found after you know, handling and carrying so many different types of knives, and you guys can go, if you're new to my channel, you can go look. I've got somewhere around 700 uploads at the time of this video. I've handled many knives, and I love my folding knives, and I will not stop loving my standard manual folding knives. But I found that you know my most precision ground folding knives, right, that are just like the edge is ground in a way that's it's so unbelievably razor sharp that I could shave the skin of a grape before I actually shave the skin of the grape off the grape. Does that mean, like, I could split it, right? You could split a hair with it. I don't know that I need that. What I really need a lot of the times is just a convenient cutting tool. And I've maintained that, you know, the best types of cutting tools are ones that you can simply pull out of your pocket, deploy, make a cut, and conveniently put away. Like this Rat 1, I love that. And because of those qualities, I'm not left, my brain is not like focusing on getting the blade out and fumbling around with it, and oh, what am I cutting? Is it going to leave a scratch on my blade? Now, part of that's attributed to the fact that the Rat is an inexpensive knife, right? But the best thing about that is I don't have to think about it very much. But where I do have to stop and think after I make the cut is reposition, position thumb here, move it out of the way, move the blade down, move my thumb out of the way, kick the blade back into place, right? Or something of that nature, swing it down like this, then put it back in my pocket. No matter how you swing it, this is just more convenient. Click it out, cut, goes back in. You're done. In my opinion, it's safer. You're less likely to drop the knife. You're less likely to accidentally cut yourself. The OTF looks more aggressive, looks more dangerous, looks less safe. But in practice, I'm finding it's actually more precision. And where it might lack, especially a blade like this, a dagger style blade, where it might lack in cutting performance, this is fairly thick, especially on the Guardian Tactical. It's 140 thousandths, 145 thousandths. It is hollow ground, but it doesn't come down to the sliciest edge. Same thing with the UTX-85, same thing with this guy here, same thing with this guy. Because of the narrowness, the necessity for the blade to be fairly narrow to go back into the handle, even on like the Troodon here, the Combat Troodon that's only 125 thousandths thick, there's simply not really all that much room for it to drop down to a super slicey edge. I find that not having the sliciest edge in the world, not having a blade like my, let me find another one here, PM2 or Para 3, oh my gosh, fantastic. Ooh, some gunk on there. Fantastic performers, right? But I don't necessarily, and I'll still carry these. The Para 3 was my most carried knife of 2019. But my day-to-day needs are less about precision slicing and more about sudden need of a cutting tool, right? And I enjoy being able to simply pull this out of my pocket, make a cut, put it away. I enjoy that it's light. I enjoy that it's compact, that it has a good carry profile. It just has a whole bunch of good features. It's a bonus that it's aesthetically pleasing, and some people could argue that there was extra attention in the design to make it look pretty. I would say in the case of knives like the UTX-85, the Guardian Tactical, Recon 35, the Ultratech, those are 100% form. They're just designed to be, easy in and out of the pocket, make your cut, put it away, Whether or not they're going to be worth the money to every single person, that's up to the individual. You can tell me all day that nobody ever needs to spend more than $50 on a knife, and I'm never going to change my mind. There are definitely people out there that I would recommend the Lightning to over something like this, right? Because not everybody, I'm not going to say everybody needs to spend a whole bunch of money on a folding knife, but either way, OTFs in general are just great knives to just get jobs done. You have to consider where you live. You have to consider whether you want to or not. OTF knives do make people uncomfortable. Some people are not uncomfortable around them. Some people are. Some people will immediately judge you as a criminal just for having it in your hand. I run into people all the time who are like, "You're carrying an automatic knife? Those are illegal. You could go to jail for that. What are you planning to do with it?" And I'm like, there's nothing you can do about people like that. They're just gonna be that way. I have a person in my life who's part of my family, my extended family, who will not change their minds about this. They know me. They know, who I am, my habits. They know that I am just a regular person who has an 8-to-5 job. And the fact that I carry a knife like this or even a knife at all makes me questionable. You can't do anything about that. I'm sure you're wondering, 24 minutes in, what's the point of this video? Not really anything. It's just a ramble, and to let everybody know that I've really come full circle on OTF knives. I really like them. I think the laws against them are ridiculous. I think that there are some fantastic examples out there ranging from around this size to around this size, and these are some awesome examples. I think these two are pretty expensive, and I honestly think if you're going for a larger one, I've said this before, I think the Combat Troodon, despite being a little bit more expensive in its base form than the larger Benchmade Infidel, is a better buy. both in materials and the final product. But the Benchmade Infidel is still a good knife. In my opinion, you cannot beat the Lightning OTF for a budget, hardworking OTF, right? If you want an OTF, and you can get any color or blade style you want in these things. You want Dagger, you want it to be yellow with a two-tone blade, yeah, that's fine, they make that. Don't expect it to be incredibly durable, and no matter what you hear, it is not built as well as the more expensive stuff. But is it a great knife for the money? Oh, definitely, and it'll last, you know? There's no warranty involved with it. Not really anyway. I mean, these other American-made ones have lifetime warranties, but it's definitely great, you know? In my opinion, the very best OTF knives that I have ever handled in my entire life, the most highly recommended ones that I've handled are, I'm going to definitely say these two here. The Recon 35, which is the smaller, it does have an older brother, but it's a smaller one. The UTX 85, and then two other OTFs that are not on the table. The standard Troodon is a fantastic size, somewhere in between the thickness of this guy, and about the same length, or in between this guy and this guy on length. Might be about the same size as this. And then, of course, the Ultratech, which is about as the same skinniness as this, same skinniness of blade, but much longer. You know, well, it's about 8.5 inches overall. Those four are US made. They're between $250 and $300, I believe. The Troodon might be a little bit more expensive. They're precision made. They're made to fit the average person's hand. They're incredibly well built. Also, recent videos from, I believe his name's X-Ring. A lot of people, including me, didn't really think that the locking mechanisms on knives like these were all that durable. I watched that guy pound an OTF, a combat Troodon, into I think it was a big thick board with a tamping hammer, and then he wrenched it back out and pulled it out, and it was fine. I watched him set one on fire. I mean, you know, after thinking about it, it's like, well, maybe it really wouldn't do all that much damage, but I'm pretty sure he doused it in gasoline or kerosene or something and set it on fire, and there was minimal damage to the hard coat anodizing on the aluminum. So yeah, these are convenient. They are precision made. And they're very dependable. And if you're going to, you know, if you're going to go for one, in my opinion, you know, especially if you're in this corner of the knife world, I think it's worth spending a little bit more money. Maybe not this much. These are cool, and if you just, you know, if you know what you're buying and you're like, I don't care, I just want something that looks cool, that's why I bought this guy, then okay, fine. But as far as like where your money's really going to go, something around here, or the Troodon, or the Ultratech, they are fantastic. This was a crazy, rambly, ranty video, and I hope you guys were at least mildly entertained by it. I like doing videos like this. I don't like to do too much structure, but this was fun to do, and I had an opportunity to talk about it. So anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on this metal complex logo right here and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.